Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And I'd like to welcome you to Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a treat.
That's right, folks. Welcome to Taco Tuesday, where we celebrate, well, eating, drinking, and being merry. Truthfully to be told, we're celebrating tacos because we like tacos here. I don't know. It's just kind of our thing, whether me being from California or Mike being from the great state of Florida. Well, you know, it's just something we share in common, especially street tacos. You got to love when you find the good taco truck. It is good eaten all around. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, Mike, you know, Tuesdays are just a hard day for us to be able to connect with Mike because he does civil air patrol and he does several other things on Tuesdays that kind of keep him kind of busy. But we have a good time nonetheless. Remember, we're taking your comments. If you're watching us live, that's right. If you're watching us 5 p.m. or 5, about to give you the wrong times, ain't I? I'm giving you our old time again. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and you're watching us live. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Rumble, we're live. So we're looking for your comments. So if you got something to say, you want to chime in, go ahead and do so. I'm going to be kind of going through, checking all of the things. Now, just so you know, I know we're on OpsLens on Rumble. I know that we're on 2A News and on Arms Room Radio on both Facebook and YouTube. But the truth is that I only check the rundown stuff, right? So if you're commenting on our YouTube channel over at 2A News, if you are commenting on our Facebook page, I'll see you. So if you're commenting on Facebook or YouTube and you're watching us live, I'll see it. If you're watching us on Rumble, unfortunately, I'm only going to see it if you're commenting over at the Rundown. And make sure you guys go ahead and take a moment and subscribe to the Rundown over there at Rumble. All right, before we get into it, let's go ahead and let's pay the bills real quick and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. If you're looking for rifle or pistol length barrels, they have got them. They've got a phenomenal selection. They even include Glock barrels. All you got to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net. If you're a first responder, get a discount on your first order over there at hitmanindustries.net. Then there's the California Republican Assembly, working to elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Just endorsed President Donald Trump to be reelected to the presidency of the United States. But go there, check them out, cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Then you've got Hog Holsters. That's HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. You can find them at hogholsters.com. And if you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there, you can get a discount, a nice little discount on your order. So check them out today. And then if you're looking for outdoor gear, if you're looking for indoor gear, if you're looking for any kind of tactical gear minus the gun, the place to go is uscombatgear.com. Veteran-owned and operated, fast shipping, great prices, excellent selection. Check them out today, uscombatgear.com. All right, today's first story. This is a sad state in today's public education because this clearly is a situation where students are now being discouraged from actually paying attention to, biology, basic science. And it is odd. It is completely odd to me that so many would consider conservatives or those of us who believe in traditional things to be deniers of science, or to be what they would refer to us as science deniers. But in this particular case, we have a teacher who is clearly a science denier. Now, this is from up in Seattle. It says here, Seattle student failed quiz for saying men can't get pregnant. Let's read this from Jason Rantz over there at 770 KTTH in Seattle. It says, an activist history teacher, well, there's problem number one, because this is not science. An activist history teacher failed a Seattle student on a quiz for saying only women can get pregnant and only men have penises. The 10th grade ethnic studies world history teacher at Chief Sealth International High School in Seattle gave students a quiz entitled Understanding Gender versus Sex. The quiz provided a series of statements to label true or false, or questions with multiple choices. Many of the questions focused on personal pronoun use. When someone uses they, them pronouns, what does that mean about their gender identity? Or assumptions one may make around gender identity. True, false. Transgender people are gay. Two questions, however, are objectively false, but students are taught the opposite. Question 4 was true or false. Question with the statement, all men have penises. The student labeled the statement true, since it is, in fact, true. But the teacher penalized the answer, marking it incorrect. The teacher claims women have penises. Similarly, question 7 was true or false. Question with the statement, only women can get pregnant. Again, the student marked the statement true, because only women can get pregnant. Again, the teacher penalized the student, insisting the answer was false. The teacher believes men can get pregnant. Now, I'm trying to figure out exactly when did we all sit down and vote? When did we, as a society, as a culture, when did science, how about science, everybody in science get together and have a conversation about changing one of the most basic tenets and understanding of science that we know? From the very beginning, I will tell you, my daughter, who is now 30, I remember when she was little, and I remember she knew exactly what her mother taught her. Boys have peepees and girls have chichis. I know. But that's what we taught our daughter. That's what she understood to be the truth. Right? But that's no longer the case anymore. That's no longer where we're at in this world. In this world now, men and women can have peepees or chichis. They can have penises and vaginas. Okay, we'll just say we're all grown here, so we can say it. And by the way, men can have babies. Now, I first of all, the whole statement about the pronouns. I've given the whole pronoun thing a lot of thought. And I realize this, that pronouns don't belong to the person to whom you are referring. Pronouns belong to the person who is using the pronoun. So in other words, if I choose to refer to someone as he or she, it's not their word. It's not their use. It is my language. It is my speech. In fact, there are a number of court cases that have come out that demonstrate that I have a freedom of speech. If you force me to use a pronoun for someone that I know to be incorrect, well, that's compelled speech. That's unconstitutional. You cannot force me to do that. If I just choose to use a pronoun of your choosing, I do so because you have earned my respect and maybe I just don't want to, offend you. But you can't compel someone to do that. You just cannot force people to do that. You cannot force people to believe things that they know, in fact, to be untrue. Folks, the worst part about all of this is this. None of this is based on science. This is all based on belief. And when it's all based on belief, there's actually no facts, no data, no science to support it. And if you challenge that orthodoxy, and I call it an orthodoxy, well, then you are labeled a heretic. and must be shouted down and silenced. Folks, it has become a religion. Gender ideology has become a religion, right? It's gone from allowing people to just live their life the way they want to live their life. I've had that attitude. If you're born a male and you want to live your life as a female, as long as it doesn't affect me and I don't have to, go right ahead. You do you. But we've gotten beyond that. We've gotten to the point where now everybody has to celebrate this. Everybody has to acknowledge this. Everybody has to own this. Everybody has to deny basic science, basic understanding, fundamentals of biology that we all know to be true, and act as if it is not. We're all required to pretend that science doesn't exist in order to make some people feel comfortable. I'm all for making people feel comfortable. I'm not for compelling people to make people feel comfortable. I'm not for forcing it. I have friends who are transgender, and I refer to them by whatever pronouns that they desire me to, well, as long as it's a simple he, she. I do it because you know what? They are people who are respectful. They are people who through the work that they've done and how they have treated me, have earned my respect. And so I do not wish to offend them. So I honor their request. Do I do that for everybody? No, I don't. Yes, I am a respecter of persons. I'm sorry. If you've earned that respect, I'll do it. But that doesn't change my understanding or my belief about basic science and biology. It doesn't. And I know that some of my transgender friends may hear this and get offended and get angry and mad at me. I'm sorry. I still love you. But I disagree with you on that. And you know what? I respect your right to be wrong. Just as I'm sure you're probably sitting there saying right now, Craig is wrong. Well, guess what? Respect my right to be wrong. If I am. Which I don't think I am. But in this case, we're now talking about, this is a student, this is a child, this is his grades now being affected because he is not willing to buy into the cult of, and I say cult because, once again, I know people who are like, once again, just like me, I respect that, but no, you cannot require other people to believe what you believe or to say what it is that you're saying. You just can't do that. This is compelled. It's forced. It's not right. And that's what you're starting to see happen in schools nowadays. And it just ain't right. And they need to be stood up to. And I'm hoping and a praying and a wishing that they are effective, that the students' parents are. They are effective in standing up to these folks. And telling them, nope, sorry, nope, you don't get to do this. You don't get to perpetrate. You don't get to perpetrate this sort of stuff. Okay, I don't know what Barbara here is trying to say, but I will go ahead and I'll pull up Barbara's comments over here. So Barbara is commenting on Facebook over at OpsLens, and Barbara says, "We were not abducted by aliens. We were raptured." I kind of get the joke. In other words, you're saying you're raptured. You were taken away. But the rapture has not happened yet. At least I hope it hasn't happened yet because I'm supposed to be going. I'm supposed to be a part of that. So I'm hoping that y'all didn't get raptured. Although, here's my question. If you have been raptured, Barbara, how are you commenting? Is there... I imagine if there is an internet connection in heaven, it's probably a pretty good one. So I'm guessing that's what happened. You are now in heaven, and, you got a really good internet connection. Have decided to comment on the show. So, Barbara, thank you so much for chiming in. All right, moving right along. We talked last week, and we talked just yesterday about the Harvard president, the president over there at Harvard University, and the fact that, quite frankly, she came out and she basically said, well, it's okay to call for the genocide of Jewish people if it's done in the right context. I still have yet to hear exactly what that right or proper context is. But evidently, the 700 or 500 or 700 professors there at Harvard who wrote letters asking that she be allowed to stay, evidently they believe that there's a context where that's okay. And the university board has decided that, well, that's okay. That, there is clearly in their eyes a context where you can call for the genocide of Jewish people and still keep your job. I'm just wondering in what world, on what planet, but evidently that world is Massachusetts. The planet would be Harvard University. And by the way, this is despite losing $750 million in financial support. And that's just off the bat. That's just within a week. They've lost $750 million in donations and people who are donors to the university. And they've said, nope, we're not giving you squat. We're not giving you a cent more. And trust me, folks, the bleeding is not done yet. Here's what they said. They said, our extensive deliberations affirm our confidence that President Gay is the right leader to help our community heal and to address the very serious societal issues we are facing. The board, known as Harvard Corporation, said on Tuesday, calls for Gay's removal erupted after she was asked by Representative Elise Stefanik at a hearing of the House Committee on Education last week whether calling for the genocide of Jews violated Harvard's rules on bullying and harassment. Gay replied, it can be depending on the context. Still have yet to hear the context in which it is not, but I digress. When asked to clarify, Gay said, anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action. The decision by Harvard's governing board follows the announcement on Saturday by Liz McGill, the president of the University of Pennsylvania, that she is resigning following backlash to her testimony before the House. McGill, Gay, and Sally Kornsbluth of Massachusetts Institute of Technology were each called to testify about anti-Semitism on college campuses and, in sometimes heated testimony, faced criticism for a lack of moral clarity for responses that were seen as overly logistic. While Kornbluth has received support from MIT's board, she still faces some calls to step down from lawmakers in response to her testimony. Now, let's be clear. There is a difference between McGill, Kornbluth, and Gay. And part of that has to do with the fact that, well, first of all three of them got their jobs because not because of the quality of their work, not because they are good at anything. I mean, in fact, what Gay right now is also dealing with is she's been accused of, and when I say accused of, there's been damning evidence that has been put forward that she has plagiarized. I mean, first of all, she hardly ever publishes. I mean, almost nothing. Has published almost nothing compared to many of her peers at other universities. But that having been said, even the stuff she has done, including her doctoral thesis, has been highly plagiarized. Meaning, she's taken whole paragraphs, changed one or two words, and put them into her doctorate. And she really doesn't have any defense for it because they've put it out there and they've shown the evidence that her work has been plagiarized, and yet she's still keeping her job. Well, and now I don't believe that the same can be said for Kornbluth and McGill, but here's what can be said. The reason why they got their jobs is not because of their quality. It is because they have fully bought into and they have fully dedicated their souls to the DEI, equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, oppressive, neo-Marxist narrative. And they're working to implement it at every level at America's highest institutions. And I know some people out there, if you're someone who doesn't normally watch a show and you tend to be left leaning, you're thinking, well, what's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion? Well, if that's all they were doing, that would be one thing. But what they're doing is they're promoting this neo-Marxist hierarchy of what I like to call hierarchy of intersectional victimization. and it's done in this oppressed matrix, meaning, for example, every society, everything. If you are successful, you are an oppressor. If you are not as successful, you are oppressed. And then if you fit a certain mold, if you are a woman, you're higher on the scale. If you are a woman of color, in particular a black woman, you are higher. If you are a transgender woman, you are at the highest level. Now, if you happen to be a Muslim transgender woman, well, you probably you would be all sorts of inconsistent, but that would probably put you up there near the highest parts of the hierarchy of the intersectional hierarchy of victimization. But they're seeking to implement that at all levels. And if you don't think it's a real thing, look at what's happening right now with Bud Light. Look at what's happening at Disney. Understand exactly what ESG investing is. Trust me, it is happening, and it all started by Karl Marx and then the neo-Marxists of the 1920s and then the 1960s, who all went into the education departments at places like Harvard, at places like MIT, at places like Yale, at places like University of Penn. And now they've made it a part of their standard curriculum, and they're teaching folks in corporations. They're teaching all sorts of people about stuff like that. And that's where it's all at. That's where you're finding them. And once again, looks like we have another comment going on here. This is Teresa Griffith over at she's also on Facebook, commenting over on OpsLens. She says she isn't fit to work anywhere, and you would be 100% correct. She is definitely not fit to work anywhere. But anyway, this stuff is being implemented. You're seeing it all over the place, and like I said before, it is a cult. It is a religion. And if you don't believe me, let's just do this. If you don't believe me, challenge someone on it. Tell them to show you the data to support whatever it is. When they come to you and they say that all white people are racist, ask them based on what? Show me the data, show me the information, show me the studies that support that. And I guarantee you, they can't. They won't. If you dare even question, if you dare even say, well, if you dare even, because by the way, just so you know, like for example, people of color, black people, yeah, we're not as high on that hierarchy of victimization why do I always forget the word of intersectional victimization. We're not as high on that, us people of color. So we don't get the same status as they do. But anyway, just so y'all know, yeah, it's real. It exists. And if you challenge it, you will be put in your place. I'm not the one who's going to put you in your place. I'm telling you, they're going to put you in your place because that's who they are. Not saying, just saying. All right, let's move right along to our next story. ACLU sides with the NRA. That is correct. Now, this is not as rare as you might think. When I worked with the Firearms Policy Coalition as their legislative advocate here in California, Nevada, and Washington, D.C., we often reached out to the ACLU and worked with them in the legislative process because there were a number of different times, because believe it or not, when it comes to guns, the left believes that you lose your right to free speech, that you lose your right to due process. They believe that you lose your right to private property. They believe that the left believes that a number of your rights are lost because guns. And I wish it wasn't the case. I wish I could tell you that I was lying to you. I am not lying to you. I am telling you the God's honest truth. That thar be how it be. Anyway, let's see here. So now we're going to go over here to, all right, so here it says ACLU defends decision to represent NRA in SCOTUS case amid furious backlash. We understand gun violence is a real threat. Here it says the ACLU announced on Saturday its decision to represent the NRA in a major First Amendment case before the United States Supreme Court and offered defense on social media for doing so after backlash from gun control advocates and even its own New York chapter. The American Civil Liberties Union shared on X, formerly Twitter, the breaking news on Saturday that it will be representing the National Rifle Association in a First Amendment case at the Supreme Court. It says breaking. We're representing the NRA at the Supreme Court in their case against New York Department of Financial Services for abusing its regulatory power to violate the NRA's First Amendment rights. The government can't blacklist an advocacy group because of its viewpoint. But before defending those rights in court, the prestigious group first had to defend decision online. As angry backlash began immediately, anti-Second Amendment activist Shannon Watts of Moms Demand Action was among the first to react, disdainfully wondering why the ACLU would consider the NRA a legitimate organization. The ACLU considers the NRA a legitimate organization. They've been investigated by the IRS, the federal and state lawmakers for financial misconduct, tax fraud, campaign finance violations, and serving as foreign asset. Their CEO admitted to using their donations to enrich himself. Now, let's talk a little bit about what they have to say here. First of all, every single one of these investigations, every single one of them has been instituted by Democrats. Every single one. In jurisdictions that are overwhelmingly liberal, including when you talk about the IRS, all of these entities have all been done by folks like, the Biden administration, by, what's her name, James, the attorney general there in New York, who ran on the idea that she was going to get rid of the National Rifle Association and that she was going to throw Donald Trump in jail, and then turn around and do that. So, in other words, individuals who she campaigned on the idea that she was going to utilize her office as political retribution against the former president of the United States, and against the NRA. And she followed through on that promise. Now, I guess you can give her credit for at least attempting to, follow through on her campaign promises. But it's a little bit more than that, isn't it? Because think about this. These are the very same people who now are saying, well, Trump's going to be a dictator. And he's already said, when he gets elected, he said, I am your retribution. Now, what I find funny is they're mad at Donald Trump. They're scared of Donald Trump. They're warning that Donald Trump is going to do exactly what Democrats have actually done. He said he would do exactly what Democrats are actually doing. But they don't see that. They don't know that. An anti-gun gun grabber like Shannon Watts doesn't see that because, they're not on her side. Rights exist not to protect people that you agree with, but to protect people that you disagree with. Because, when you feel a certain way and you feel like you can do whatever to somebody who disagrees with you, rights exist to protect them from you. Right? Rights exist to protect Planned Parenthood from folks like me. Right? To protect them from people who want to see people who are living from the deaths of babies, from killing babies. They want to protect them from folks like me. And that's good. I'm glad that they are protecting their constitutional rights. But guess what? When the NRA exists, an organization that exists to protect individuals' rights so that they can protect themselves and their families, that organization deserves to have their rights protected too. The people in those organizations deserve to have their rights protected too. And you don't have to like it. You really don't. You do not have to like it. But it is what it is. So, there you go. Suck it up and take it. Because that's the way it be. All right, and then our last item here, we've got Obama films warning about white people. That's right. Yes, Obama's made a film which includes a warning about white people. Now, this is a Netflix film. It's a film that's on Netflix. You might remember when he left the White House, he got involved. The president got involved in a number of different projects, and one of them was a film project that included a number of different films. But this one, let's see. Here we go. Let me find it. Here it is right here. All right, it says recently Obama served as a consultant on Sam Esmail's latest film, Leave the World Behind, based on Ruman Alam's novel of the same name. The film, which was released by Netflix on Friday, follows two families forced to work together amid a nationwide blackout. As the threat grows, both families must decide how to best survive the potential crisis, all while grappling with their places in the collapsing world. The former president and first lady signed on to produce the film last year as part of the deal. Obama was able to share his perspective on the events that unfold on the screen. According to Vanity Fair, while writing the script, Esmail consulted Obama, hoping that his perspective would ground the story and make it more realistic. Esmail added that Obama thought the script was fairly close to how a crisis would actually pan out in the real world. Moving down here. Okay. However, since the film's release, some have taken to X, formerly Twitter, to share their thoughts on a specific scene in the movie. Newsweek reached out to the Obamas via email on Monday. The scene in question shows a black couple laying in bed as the lines, "I'm asking you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people." X user Libs of TikTok noted the scene while claiming the scene was demonizing towards white people. Netflix film called Leave the World Behind, produced by the Obamas, includes a scene demonizing white people. White people are the only group you are allowed and celebrated to be racist towards, and it will be put into movies by the most influential people, Libs of TikTok wrote. Ex-user Matt Wallace called the clip of the scene racist, saying the racist clip of Barack and Michelle Obama's first fiction film on Netflix called Leave the World Behind is about to go viral. Citizens for a Free Press, a news aggregation website, also said the scene warns about white people if the world falls apart. So here's the thing. First, I think that the criticisms are overblown to a degree. And I only say that they're overblown for this reason. The reason why they're legitimate is because if a white filmmaker had done a film, included in a film, a warning about especially black people, if the white couple in this film, which I believe was Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts, if one of them had said something about, don't dole out trust, especially to white people, especially to black people, places like the Griot, places like Huffington Post, the New York Times, the Atlantic, critics and people who write stuff there would be losing their minds. They would absolutely positively be losing their minds, and they would be wrong to do so. Right? They would be absolutely wrong to do so. And in this particular case, the same thing. Folks, it's called art. It's called art, and art to a certain degree is reflective of real life. And believe it or not, there are people who say stuff like that. There are. That's just reality. You don't have to like it. And I'll tell you right now, the people most likely to make comments on race are people of color. The most people who are likely to make comments, about negative comments about people of other ethnicities exist in all ethnicities. White people, black people, Latinos, API, DESI API, you name it, European, you name it, Latino, it exists. They exist. So to get mad about it in a context of something like this, in particular where they're actually are in this movie trying to create, to a certain degree, that level of conflict, to say that that's not an area of conflict in this film would be completely wrong. I just think that I think that y'all are overblowing it. I think it's okay to point out the double standard, but I think that some of the people who are complaining, their complaints have jumped the shark to a degree. They've gone a little too far in their complaints. Anyway, once again, and the other reason why I honestly wanted to share this story was because, a lot of people, he won, supposedly Barack Obama won the Nobel Prize when he first got elected because he was going to bring people together, bring people of different races together and create racial harmony in these United States. And since his presidency, we have never been more divided. We have never, ever been more divided when it comes to race than we are right now as a country. And that is sad. That is beyond sad. But it is where we are. And when you're willing to sign on to projects that do stuff like this, that say stuff like this, then you all of a sudden you see why stuff like that has happened, why we are so divided since his presidency. Not saying, just saying. Anyway, now's the time for our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. All right, all of our parting shots there are brought to you by the Babylon Bee. The first one. Claudine Gay responds to plagiarism accusations by giving inspiring "I Have a Dream" speech. And, well, that kind of falls in line because we know that she is she is the president and plagiarizer in chief there at Harvard University. And if nothing else, if you're not going to fire her for the idea that, she believes there's a context where you can call for the genocide of Jews, how about the fact that she's plagiarized her work? Just saying. Because if any of the professors there did it, if any of the people who worked for her did it, she would lose her mind, and she would definitely do that. Anyway, let's see. Here's another one. Ousted UPenn president Liz McGill lands new gig at Hamas Institute of Technology. Well, hey, if there's an appropriate time and a place to call for a genocide, well, you know what? Maybe. Just maybe she could get herself hooked up with a job over there. Because, they are, in fact, calling for a genocide. So evidently they believe it's appropriate. And just in case, if you're wondering exactly how they're going to pay her salary, well, Starbucks kiosk now asked if you'd like to donate $1 to buy a bullet for Hamas. They want to fund those terrorists over there because, they be cool like that. And then finally, for those of you who did not know, Alex Jones is back on X, or formerly known as Twitter. And now, unfortunately, though, it is causing a bit of a stir in the journalistic community because, well, with Alex Jones returning to X, journalists are concerned they'll no longer be the only source of misinformation. Well, the one difference here, folks, is they're actually in many cases a source of disinformation. If you don't know the difference between the two, then take a moment to watch one of our past shows. You'll get it real quick. And with that, we're about ready to wrap it up. But before we do, we're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, starting with Hitman Industries. Go to hitmanindustries.net. Get your rifle and pistol caliber barrels today. Go to the California Republican Assembly, CRAGOP.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Hog Holsters, HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. Go to hogholster.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your hog holster today. And finally, tactical gear, whether it be outdoor gear, indoor gear, cold weather gear, hot weather gear. All tactical gear other than the gun you can get right there at veteran-owned and operated uscombatgear.com. And with that, we have another show in the books. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encourage your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Y'all take care.